that was
That's
exciting.
yeah. So I guess tonight's a little different. For my personal audience, tonight's a little different. Um, because the Full of Mysteries is being joined by Gina from the AetherFlows podcast.
Hello,
And
everybody. Hi.
and for Gina, who's also going to be sharing this.
Oh, for me, hi. I am having a video chat with my new friend, Gwendolyn, who is so gracious and super awesome. And I'm really excited. I'm excited to
Yeah,
find out what happens because
I'm excited too.
it's a mystery right now. I have no idea where this chat will take us.
I know, because we're just gonna have a conversation and kind of like talk about our own personal stuff and our own adventures.
Absolutely.
But leading up to this, I've been excited to get to know you because you're awesome. Like you just have just
Aw,
this bright, shining personality, and I get
really?
along with
That's
you so
super.
well.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
That's
Um,
wow. Thank you for the compliment. I have a little friend with me. His name is I don't know, Squatchy, and he says ook ook, and that's it. I don't know. I always
Rocky.
need like I need a little fidget toy when I do these interviews because I get really nervous sometimes.
Yeah, you know what? My fidget, because I always have a pen and pad of paper next to me for any questions that I want to ask. So this
Mm,
is my fidget. So sometimes you hear clicking.
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
gotta stop doing that.
Well, it's okay. I think it's part of your charm. And
Well,
like I don't think people realize that doing these podcasts, it's fun, but it's also kind of like a little stressful sometimes because it's like we don't really know each other and it's exciting, but it's also just you kind of got to get revved up. You kind of have to have a little green tea or some coffee and a little fidget toy and, you know, it mostly works out though.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it is. It's like you're getting to know somebody on camera for the first time sometimes, and it does
Yeah.
make it, nerve-wracking because you're like, you don't want them to like not like you, but you want to like ask those really intense questions that everybody else wants to know. So, it's like a fine balance between, being a good interviewer, I guess, and also being somebody that they're willing to come back and talk to again.
Right, right. And then being your authentic self and not
Oh.
trying to play it up for audiences or whatever. So it's a fine balance. But
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I haven't really told my story very much. I did one podcast recently with Vic Cundiff. I can't
Oh,
remember
he's
what the
awesome.
podcast. It's like Bigfoot eyewitness or something like that.
Bigfoot
And
Chronicles, isn't it? Is it
I
Bigfoot Chronicles?
oh, I can't remember. He's
Oh, I
got
don't
like
wanna say the
4
wrong
of
thing.
them. He's got a
Yeah.
lot of them. But, he
Oh,
reached
I
out
think
to
what
me.
Bigfoot Chronicles is with Wes Germer, I think. Okay, sorry. Go on.
Okay. Oh, he just reached out to me on Facebook and was like, "Hey, I bet you have some stories. Have you seen a Sasquatch?" And I'm like, "Yeah, a couple of times." And he was like, "Come on the show." And so, it was an audio only show, and I got really nervous beforehand because, like I said, I haven't really talked. I'm doing my own podcast, but for the most part, I listen to other people, and so this is kind of like a coming out sort of process as well. I've been telling the story to more friends and more family, and it's challenging sometimes because it's that fear of rejection and yeah, but I think I'm getting over it. It's getting easier. So I
Yeah.
did this audio only podcast with Vic, and he literally was like, "Okay, you talk and try to be as detailed as possible and talk for as long as you can." And I thought I didn't have very much to say, but I talked for an hour and a half straight. He was like, "All
You
right,
just
enough."
yeah.
Like, show's
Wow.
over. Yeah, it
That's
was
so
funny.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
it's
it was
it's
fun.
yeah. So you had an experience that you shared on Vic's show then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I basically told the whole story and, um, yeah, I don't know, it's a little when I was talking to him, I was like, "Okay, I gotta warn you, the story is on the woo side for real." It's very, metaphysical, and a lot of the stuff that's happened hasn't been, um, physical sightings like I've had, they've come into my house before in astral form. They've,
Yeah.
made grunts and noises on audio recordings in my house. They've, like, moved stuff around. They've come into my yard and eaten apples off the tree, and, there's, like, orbs in the backyard, and
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it's a
Dude,
lot of
you've had some wild experiences.
I
So,
guess so, yeah.
do you think it was like, oh, let me make a correction. It's Dogman Encounters. So it is actually Dogman Encounters.
Oh,
Um,
is it? Okay.
yeah, so I just wanna credit Vic for his podcast, but so do you think your stuff is, like, majority Bigfoot related then, or do you think you're kinda getting, like, a mixed bag of experiences? Maybe you're in, like, this very sweet spot sort of energetic field maybe?
Um, well, okay, I guess I'll back it up a little bit.
Yeah,
So this
tell us
stuff
a little bit about it, yeah.
okay. So I kind of had this I don't know, Kundalini awakening sort of thing happen to me. It was very intense back in 2019. I was kind of at a crossroads and didn't really know what to do with my life. And yeah, I had some health issues and um, kind of just had this didn't really know what to do with my life sort of feeling. And I ended up working with this woman, learning how to use my energy and clear, like clear out your chakras and stuff like that, like really basic sort of stuff. But it was also kind of like therapy. Is It was kind of like metaphysical therapy, honestly.
Yeah.
But probably about I would say 4 sessions in, I started to feel a little bit of a tingle at the top of my head, and I was like, "Ooh, what's that? That's exciting." And I fell asleep that night, and as I was falling asleep, you're in this, like, sweet spot between consciousness and dreams. All of a sudden, I felt this explosion in this might be too much information, but I felt this explosion in my, root chakra, and it felt like I had sat on a giant battery or something like that, and I actually heard it in my mind. It made this, like, sort of sound.
Oh,
And
wow.
I woke up, sat straight up. I had no idea what was going on. I was like, "What was that?" And then, I laid back down and tried to go to sleep and it happened again. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what is this?" I've never I'd never had anything like that happen to me before. And it happened a couple of times that week and I emailed the woman I was working with and told her. And she was like, "Oh yeah, that's no big deal. Your root chakra was super congested."
Wow.
I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, we'll see what happens." And then, eventually I just was able to feel more energy. I was able to start seeing stuff and hearing things. And it was a very interesting time.
Yeah.
And during that time, I went to Traverse City on vacation with my wife in Michigan, which is right on the shores of Lake Michigan, which has
Beautiful.
yeah, it's just like, I don't know. It just
Yeah.
sings to my heart. I love that place. But it's such a mysterious place. It's just read up about Lake Michigan. There's so many
Yeah.
UFO mysteries and all sorts of stuff. So, and I didn't even know that at the time. We were just like, "Hey, let's go have some fun." And we rented an Airbnb that was right off the lake. And I went outside one night. It was super clear and I just wanted to go sit outside and breathe some nice air. We were living in Detroit at the time, and so it was like, "Oh, let's look at the trees and see some
Yeah.
nature." And
Right.
so, yeah. So I went outside and I was looking at the stars, and all of a sudden this big yellow white orb shoots out of a tree in the front yard and goes over the roof. And I was like, "What the?" You know? And this big sparkly, I don't know what it was. Was it a light ship? Was it I don't know. I don't know what it was, but this giant sparkly light just shone over my head and went past me and over the lake, and it took about 5 minutes to go over the lake. It was moving very slowly, but that changed everything. I had
Wow.
no that was like I never had seen anything like that. I'd never encountered
Wow.
anything like that. And I just got up and walked back in the house, and my wife was like, "Oh, how was outside?" And I was like, "Oh, it was fine." And that was that.
Tell her.
I didn't know. I didn't know how to
Yeah.
tell anyone any of this stuff. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so we got back home to Detroit, and I think the phenomena followed me because I started seeing the same thing in my backyard. I would see giant I saw this a couple of times, like giant orange spheres that almost looked like the sun
I've
almost.
seen one.
You've seen
Yeah.
those too? Okay.
Yeah, one,
Yeah.
one.
Okay, I've seen those a few times. I came out of my house in the middle of the day, this is in Detroit proper, into my backyard. I look above and there's a black triangle in the sky, just floating, just sitting there. And
Wow.
I was like, "Oh my god, what is that?" And then it kind of just, like, turns to a 90-degree angle and just kind of, like, floats away. Just like, "Hey, here we are. We're looking
Right.
at you." So,
Wow.
yeah,
You know,
just all
it's funny because it's like people, maybe opening yourself up to this allows you to have those multiple experiences. And there's a lot of people out there who say, well, if I told people everything I experienced, they wouldn't believe me. And it's like some people just are really prone to all these multifaceted sort of experiences, whether it be ghosts or it could be a mixed variety, like ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot. And maybe like those people are open to those like they're on block. They're able to experience that. And that act of unblocking your chakras maybe created that opening for you to start experiencing what was already there. You just didn't experience it before, maybe.
Right, right. I think that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah.
And, I mean, turns out this is part of my soul plan. This is part of what I do, and but at the time, it was so confusing, and I felt like I was living a double life. My wife was like, "Why are you always going outside at night? Like, who cares?" And I was like, "I don't know, just
Right.
for fun." And then I would have all of these magical experiences and felt like I couldn't really tell anybody. And then finally one day I was just like, I don't know. I kind of just the internal pressure was so great that I was like, something needs to give. Can't be doing this. I can't like live these separate lives anymore.
Right.
And I was so upset and I was like crying and I'm like, I have something to tell you. Blah, blah, blah. Like all this stuff is happening. And she was like, okay, it's all good. And
Wow.
I made such a mountain out of that.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
it's just been like that ever since. I feel like it's been a journey of finding my authenticity and my truth and learning how to communicate that with people. I feel like that's one of
Yeah.
the big lessons. And that's what part of starting the podcast was, honestly. I was working with a mentor last year and she was like, your guides want you to start a YouTube channel. And
Mm.
I was like, there's no way in hell. I will never do this. And there was so much resistance to it. I didn't want any I didn't feel like I didn't have the confidence, honestly. And um but it's been a long road, but now it's kind of getting to that sweet spot where you're meeting really good people and you're having amazing conversations, and it's really
Yeah.
awesome. I'm really glad I did
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Stepped out of
I'm
the
really
comfort
glad you
zone.
did too. Yeah, because I mean, you're like perfect example of somebody who should be out there doing that because people go on two paths, you're going through your path of exploration to understand. And that's one way people deal with having experiences. And then there's other people who just have this sense of avoidance. If I avoid it, maybe it'll go away or I can
Mm,
pretend it never happened. So it's like these types of experiences split people down two different paths. And
right.
I'm glad you chose the path of exploration to understand it because, the world of research needs more people to come out and try to help us figure out what's going on. Because, right now nobody knows. Just have an
Right.
idea.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
people are still, I think people are starting to come around to the multidimensional aspects of these experiences. And I think people are starting to come around to the idea that we are multidimensional beings. We exist in all different dimensions all at the same time. And, like a dinosaur could be walking through my house right now in another
Yeah.
dimension. I've heard
Yeah.
stories like that,
Yeah. I
like
almost wonder if that's not what like Mothman it was or the pterodactyl that's being seen. Like maybe we're just for a
Thunderbird.
split moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing a piece of the past that's a dimension that's hitting our current dimension, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, that is so cool, man.
Yeah, I've always thought
I
about that.
I have a soft spot in my heart for Mothman, and I don't know
Yeah.
why, but that story is so incredible.
Yeah, because there were so many sightings. And as far as like people, it not being such a taboo subject anymore, and I think that we have the internet to thank for that because people are able to put their story out there and get the support because it's not as uncommon. Like, yeah, it's not a common thing, but it's not as uncommon as I think people originally expected it or thought it to be. When they're
Mm,
holding on to their stories. There's a variety of people out there who've experienced at least something similar. So
yeah,
I think that the internet has a big part of why the whole topic of, supernatural things are not so taboo anymore.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, well, okay, I've been jabberjawing this whole time. I feel like I should ask you some questions. I
Oh,
wanna find
okay.
out more about who is Gwendolyn Guthrie?
So I'll kind of start where like you started, where everything kind of began. Actually, before we go on to that, um, Have you ever watched Soraya Azkath? He does, Where Did the Road Go podcast.
No.
Okay, so I wanna shout out him because he talks a lot about Kundalini awakening. So
Oh,
if
okay.
if you're interested in researching that, I mean, you could probably just Google Kundalini awakening, Soraya, or, Where Did the Road Go, and find some of those shows because 'cause they're all on YouTube. They're really good stuff. So, I just wanna throw that out there real quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of start back from the beginning, and this is where I got to know Soraya. He was one of my first podcasts that I did where I talked about what he describes as a Kundalini awakening. I just always called it my paranormal awakening, is what I called it.
Mm.
And basically, like I had this wild experience with this cat, and where it's like I felt like this cat just looked to me. It felt like time stood still, and I just felt like this rush of all these different emotions that I hadn't really paid attention to before, like compassion and like a sort of sensitivity and being able to experience what somebody else experiences. I felt like I could feel what the cat was feeling and think what the cat was thinking. And and then the cat just kinda just ran away, and it was my cat, but then after that, the cat disappeared, but nobody remembers where we got the cat, like, still to this day, like, my mom's passed now, but up until she passed, she was like, "I don't remember where we got that cat," like, I don't it just, I guess, showed up,
Yeah.
and it was that night that I had my first precognizant dream, and I dreamed that somebody I knew was going to die or had died, and I could see the ambulance lights and everything, and my mom walked down and around. You had to actually walk around, and sure enough, that ambulance was there at that person's house, but there was no physical way that the ambulance lights could be seen in my living room where I was. And, and, then after that, it was like just this boom of paranormal stuff started happening all around my home. And I could see shadows and things were moving around and just all this crazy stuff started happening. And my mom would not believe me. Like, she believed in ghosts, but she was like one of those ones, you don't talk about it.
Mm.
And so it was really hard for me trying to learn and understand on my own until my mom finally saw it one day. She saw the shadows. And so then she had this understanding of kind of what I was going through. So my mom, she didn't want to talk about it, but she'd listen to me and she'd, consolidate me in those moments where things got really scary. And I mean, I was only 12 years old, so I was young.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, and then after that, it was just, like, something that was just a part of my life. My house has always been haunted everywhere I've moved. It's like everything follows me or everything comes in at some point, and I just saw a shadow across my bedroom, so it's like part of my life, like, it would be boring without it at this point.
Yeah.
And, it fluctuates, like, it gets real strong sometimes, you can almost feel the buildup in the atmosphere before something really crazy big happens, and then it kind of dies down. It's like this wave pattern of energy and activity. And so I started out researching ghosts to try to understand that. But I always had this affinity for cryptids and just mysteries in general.
Me
So
too.
I grew up watching every show I possibly could about Loch Ness and Bigfoot and all the other cryptids that I could find shows on. I think checked out every book from my library at least twice because this was pre-internet, telling my age, but um
Yeah.
so and I started or when they got it to where you could order from other libraries, I started doing that and I was just like constantly flowing all this knowledge through my head that I possibly could. But I never researched Bigfoot, until I watched a show that about Bigfoot in America, and I'm like, "Wait, this thing's here? Like, I don't have to go to other countries to research it?" So that was like, "All right," grab my backpack and I'll go out hiking, and I started doing that, and, then I, went to my first Bigfoot conference, and, it just kinda grew from there, and now I get to do all these fun, cool things to research Bigfoot and ghosts and travel to all these cool places, and, I mean, the fun just never ends, and it's become a big part of my life, and I really love it. Like, it's my passion. It's not even a
Yeah.
job. It's something that it's my vacation, like, when I go out and travel to research Bigfoot, yes, we're out there working, we're staying up, like, you know, 20 hours a day sometimes to get as many hours of research in as we can, but to me, that's, like, fun. It's, like, what I love.
It's so great because you can totally, get into your inner child when you're doing
Yeah,
this. You know what I mean? It's like when I don't really consider myself a researcher at all. I just kind of I don't know, the stuff just started happening. But I feel like when I'm in the woods, I can pretend that maybe I'm an elf or I am a 6-year-old or something, and everything is
yeah,
so exciting and beautiful, and you can look at the leaves. It just something about this, the mysterious sort of aspect of these beings helps me at least to kind of get into that mode of excitement and wonderment.
No,
Yeah, exactly. Like having curiosity and not being jaded and feeling weighed down by life in general. I think that's how we were meant to be.
I think you're exactly right because, I'm a single income household, so I've raised my kids on my own. I've always had to, prioritize work, to take care of my kids over this passion of mine of going out and researching whatever it may be, Bigfoot, fairies, ghosts, whatever it may be. I've always had to prioritize work. So that's why I kind of think of it as a vacation because it is like that childlike curiosity. It's like this break from this monotonous norm that we have to live in order to survive. And, I think when you lose that childlike curiosity, life becomes very boring.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
And you don't
Absolutely.
learn anymore. There's nothing out
Yeah.
there more that's exciting and that you can learn from. And
Mhm.
where's the mystery in life, if you're not going out there looking for it?
Right. And that's what helps raise your vibration, and that's what helps you to have more awareness of different energies and different dimensions is having a higher vibration. So keeping yourself in that state of just like play a bunch of 80s dance music when you wake up and dance around. You notice how much better you feel when you do that
Hmm.
versus, oh, my back aches and oh, I have to do this and do that, in the morning. I feel like if you can do and man, I'm telling you, when I was in my 20s, I was like the most jaded person you would have ever met. I was very angry, very jaded. And it's taken a lot of introspection to be able to see this stuff because I don't know, like, maybe that's my journey, but I've noticed that life is so much better
Yeah.
when you're able to just, like, stay in kind of a happy state.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, the stuff I do makes me very happy. So I'm
What do you
curious.
do?
Oh, as far as work or research?
Both.
Well, actually, nobody's ever asked me that before, so it's kind of cool. So I'm actually working towards a career into the corporate world. Um, but I'm about 2 months away from obtaining my master's degree in business administration.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I've maintained a 4.0 so far, so I'm like super proud of myself for that because
I'm
I
proud of
always
you
thought
too.
thank you. I just always thought I was like no good at school and like I was not smart enough to be able to go to college and this
Me
and
too.
that. And then I graduated with my bachelor's with a 3.6 and I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool. That's pretty good." And then I went back for my master's. I'm like, "I want to do a 4.0 the whole way through." And I've busted butt and I've made it happen along with work and research. I've been out in the mountains of Oak Ridge in Oregon doing my schoolwork between researching hours. So like I
Wow.
have maintained it thus far. I mean, I've been on an airplane on the way to places doing my schoolwork through their internet on the plane and stuff. So I'm like, I've been really blessed to have had the drive to be able to push through all this. And I'm too much
Yeah.
shy of being able to be say I'm done and I've obtained what I worked so hard for.
That is so cool. I love that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so what do you do? I'm kinda curious now. What do you do for work or on your spare time when you're not experiencing things?
Okay, so I'm a healer. I haven't officially started my new business yet, but I kind of work with friends and it's kind of a word of mouth sort of thing. But
Very cool.
I have the healing business where I kind of do intuitive guidance and I do energy work with people and I teach them how to basically run this amazing organic uh I don't know what you want to call it, other consciousness because your body is another consciousness, but it is
Yeah,
you, and
right.
you can communicate with it, and it's amazing that I've been able to kind of figure that out. But now I'm able to teach other people how to do it too, so that's what I do.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you don't have a website or anything like that, that people
Not
can
I
go
mean,
to right now? Facebook?
I have if people are interested, they can write me, they can email me, and we do, like Zoom sessions, and I mostly work with people locally right now, but I mean, it's just as good remote as it is in person because it's energy, it's all in the quantum, so,
Yeah.
I could work on you right now if I wanted to, but
Oh, we're
we're
gonna have
busy,
to set a
so
date for that because I would
yeah.
love for you to do that. Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, okay.
I'm excited.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so when
Yeah.
you say energy work, I mean, you're working on the chakras or are you working on just the energy within? I mean, how would you describe the energy that you're talking about?
Well, so, I mean, when we do a session, I have a conversation first with the person, and if they have any issues that they want to work on, we set the intention to have that happen. And then I honestly, I have my own modality that was given to me a couple of years ago now, where it it's so hard to explain. It's kind of just this thing that I do. It's like this inner tech that I have that kind of turns on and it clears your energy body, and it kind of just it has an intelligence of its own. So it's kind of like it helps what you have problems with. Like I had, for instance, one of my best friends when I first got this, I would practice on him a lot, and he had a kidney stone that was an inch in diameter. And he was in his 30s too, like not old or anything, but he had this like huge uh stone in his kidney that needed operating on, but he didn't have insurance. So it was like, what do you do, you know? And
Right.
so we set the intention and we did 4 sessions together. And then a few weeks after the last session, he went to his doctor and got x-rays or whatever they do. I guess I don't know what tests they do, but it was gone. Like just gone. And
Wow.
I don't know what happened, but it helped him with what he needed help with. So I
That is
feel
so
like
cool.
yeah, I think it works a lot on the with the emotional body. It helps to
Mhm.
clear stuck emotions in the body. It helps to clear your mental body, and then also, I'm not gonna make any promises, but I have seen some physical improvements with people. So,
That's
yeah.
awesome. So the way you described it, it sounds similar to something that I kind of experienced, but yours is more like I don't even know, like it's like a different way. It's like it's like an internal sort of help. So I have this spirit that follows me basically anywhere I go. I don't even know if you call it a spirit. It feels to me like because I'm a little sensitive. I'm not going to say I'm psychic in the least or I'm a medium at all, but everything has like this different feeling, and you can kind of tell what you're working with based on the feeling that you're getting. And this thing feels almost like it's related, but at the same time very old, maybe even never human. So it's kind of like this variety of feelings that I get from this thing, but um, it helps me in my daily life with, like, weird tasks. Like, a lot of times I don't know if you've ever heard of, like, house gnomes. It's like an old
Yeah.
lore where they go around and they steal your stuff and, you know, and they'll hide it in places and you'll find it later. Well, if that ever happens in my home, I'm just like, I'll just go to the middle of the room and I'll say, "Give it back. If you didn't take it, help me find it." And the next thing you know, within, like, 15 minutes, typically, almost always. I mean, there's times where it's like, like gone. And like, I'll find it, like I left my wallet at the store and I'm like, well, that's why I couldn't give it back because it wasn't even in the home. Um, but you'll find it like right out in the open or a place you've checked 100 times before. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, that's nothing. But this is so consistent that it's like, I mean, there's no explanation. And then another time I locked my keys in my car and I don't even know how it happened. I honestly think the thing was playing with me because I sat my keys on the seat. I just got the brand new car. I sat this keys in the seat and you could only unlock the car from the driver's side. So this was the old stick the key in the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't have a press button. You could lock them electronically from the inside, but to open it from the outside, you had to use the key. And I sat the key in the car. I shut the door. I opened up the back door, shut the back hatch, opened up the back door again, shut it, went inside, come back out. Doors are all locked. I'm like, okay, that doesn't make any sense because I opened up every other door like 3 more times before I went in the house because I was cleaning it out. I was making it my own. And I was like, "I don't know how to do this. It's a brand new car. I'm not gonna smash the window, but I need to get in the car. I need to go to the store before they close." So I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna wedge this in here," and I'm trying to get the door wedged
Oh
open.
my
And
gosh.
finally, I just got so frustrated, and I just like, "Woosah," and I put my hand in my head against the car door. Yeah, just let it go. And I put my hand in my head against the door, and I said, "Please just open the door." And I heard click, and I'm like, "No way, no way." I opened it up, and I was like, "Are you kidding?" I was so excited.
Wow.
But, like, little stuff like that or, like, little signs, I'll hear a noise in the room, and then I'll go in there right before something bad could have happened if I hadn't been in there. Like,
Oh,
weird
wow.
little stuff like that, and it's been with me since I was 12 years old, and so, but it to me, what you described, what you kind of experienced, like, this thing that just comes out and, like, helps. It's, like, already out of there, and it helps, like, with stuff
Yeah.
around me, directly around me.
That's
So,
awesome. I love
yeah.
that. Wow. That's intense. Click.
Yeah.
And then there
Yeah,
you
and
go.
I was like, I just got chills when it happened. But it's happened like all kinds of stuff. I could go on about stories like that, but those are the ones that really stuck with me because I was like,
Mm,
there's no explanation.
yeah. Yeah. Wow. I had that experience with Um, I was making a friend of mine a necklace, and I had a bunch of different, like, semi-precious beads that I was using. And I only had enough to make this one pattern and to make it this, this long. So I really needed every bead. Something happened where one of the beads just like kind of flew out of my hand, and my house was built in 1885, and so everything's just nothing's level. There's cracks and, in the walls and in the floors
Yeah.
all over the place. And so I spent probably 45 minutes looking for this like clear quartz bead. And I got so mad, and I was just like, finally I was just like, F it. I'm done. That's it. I'm not gonna mess with this anymore. I'm over it. I'll find a different bead, whatever. The next
Yeah.
morning, the thing's right in the middle of the floor, like on a rug too, and
Yeah.
I heard it. I heard the thing, like, fly out of my hand and click, 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 and roll. So it was on the hardwood floor, and it ends up in
Yeah.
the middle, and I was like, "Thanks, guys." So
Yeah.
who knows who helped, but
Yeah.
it's pretty
That's
great when they
interesting.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean, I don't know what I would do in life without all the crazy stuff that I experience. So,
me neither. I'd be bored.
yeah. So you have a lot of like UFO and other experiences. So did you have a Bigfoot experience, I assume?
Yes. I have this, it's like an ongoing thing. It's with a family of, I call them forest people. They live Uh, about 6 minutes away from my house, turns out, very, very, synchronistically, I found that out. Um, I just got we were living in Detroit at the time, and the pandemic happened, and at the time, I had no interest in nature whatsoever. I'd always been a city kid and just never really got into nature, honestly. But during the pandemic, I felt like, there's a park called Belle Isle that was about a mile away from my house, and it was built by the same guy that did, Central Park and I think Forest Park in Portland, and it's just this beautiful place, and I would go there every day with my dogs and walk around, and then I decided to, start a garden, and so I had my garden and I had the park, and that is basically what saved my sanity during that time. And so, kind of when stuff started to open up again, I just got nudged over and over again to go north, go up north. And, so we ended up going to Marquette in the UP. I think it was for my birthday. Yeah, we just went, just for a vacation. And the minute we crossed the Mackinac Bridge, the energy was so much lighter and just
Yeah.
felt completely different. And I was like, we need to live here. We can't live in Detroit anymore. We have to live, we just have to. And my wife was like, how are we going to do that? That's never going to happen. People don't move to their vacation spot. But we ended up finding my landlord. I asked him if he knew of any realtors in the UP, and he was like, "Yeah, her name's Gina." And I was like, "That's weird."
Hmm.
And so we ended up talking to her, and she was like, "There's nothing up here except for this one house that's ginormous, and it's my friend's, and let's go look at it." And so we went to go look, and they were like, "You want to buy it?" And we're like, "It's not even on the market, and they're offering us this amazing opportunity." And so we got a bank loan manager, and her name was Gina, and it was just like all
Oh
these
my
different
gosh.
things.
All of the synchronicities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It was just everything fell into place, and not even a year later, we were living up here in this
Oh,
house.
wow.
And yeah, and so one night, um, I was sleeping in I think I fell asleep in my meditation room, and, it was probably about 5 in the morning. So I was asleep, and then all of a sudden I heard this boom, 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 boom roll off the roof. And I was like, "Oh my god, what was that?" The whole house woke up. Everybody was terrified.
Oh,
And I
wow.
went outside. Yeah, like you have windstorms and stuff like
Yeah.
that. We've had trees break and fall on the roof. And so I thought it was
Yeah.
something like that, but it was a completely clear, still night. And I was like, that is so crazy. There's no branches, nothing. It sounded like someone jumping on the roof and then
Oh,
rolled
wow.
off. And the
Oh,
dogs were
wow.
scared all the next day. It was it was really weird. And so I was working with a different mentor at this time, learning more about like shadow work and how to process emotions and stuff like that. I emailed her, and I just had the the feeling that she might know what this was, that it was maybe not something, I don't know, physical.
Yeah.
And so I wrote to her and she was like, "It's the Sasquatch people. They love you." And I was like,
Ah.
"What? You mean like Harry and the Hendersons or something?" I honestly, I had read a ton about, Bigfoot, and I was obsessed with the Loch Ness Monster, with Bigfoot, and with ley lines, and with like
Oh,
limestone
yeah.
in the ground, and like underwater, like underground waterways and stuff. I don't know why, but I was just obsessed with that stuff when I was with it when I was a kid. But I hadn't thought about it in 30 years. And so I was like, the Sasquatch. So is this like fairies and dragons? Like, is this some sort of
Right.
archetypal energy that we're talking about? And she's like, "No, they're very real. They're super real, and they want to hang out with you." And so I didn't really know what to do with that, so I kinda just put it in my back pocket and was like, "All right, well, we'll see what happens with that." But I would go out in the woods, and this was in March of 2024, I wanna say. Yeah, and it was in March, and there was a lot of snow on the ground, but it was kind of crunchy, like it had melted and then snowed and melted again.
Right, yeah.
And, I was out at this wetlands walking around on, like, a logging trail, and it's, very remote. There's never anybody out there. And, so we're just walking along, and all of a sudden I see this tiny little footprint, like, almost of like a four-year-old kid that was barefoot in the snow, and there was,
Oh,
like,
that's
4
interesting.
prints. Yeah, there were, like, 4 prints, and I was like, "What am I looking at? What like, what?
Yeah,
What
and
is
the fact that it's
this?"
in the snow makes it
Yeah.
even more compelling.
Right, and it's, in the woods, and what kind of parent would let their kid run around, make 4 footprints, and this is, like, miles into the woods, and then I wouldn't see anything for about half a mile, and then I would see a couple more footprints, and then nothing, and I'm like, "What is happening here? Is this" I didn't make the connection with, the Sasquatch people
Yeah,
are banging
right,
on your roof. Honestly, I was like, "These are tiny footprints. They couldn't be big footprints because
right.
they're" I I didn't even think that they would have babies, but yeah, it just kept happening. I kept seeing different sized footprints, and then, so that was in March, and then I would say in June or July of that year, I was in that same area, and I was walking down the logging road, and, it was super hot outside. It was like 90 degrees, which is really hot up here,
Yeah.
and so I'm walking with my dogs, and then I hear in my mind, "Stop, wait." And I just happened to be looking down the road at that time when I heard that in my mind, and I was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And so I did. And then out of the woods crosses the road this, I would say 7 foot tall, all black humanoid shape. And it was
Oh,
probably a
wow.
quarter of a mile off.
Oh,
But
wow. Give me
yeah. And
chills.
I but at the time I was like, wow, that's so weird. Who is wearing a snowmobile suit with a ski cap? Like, it's so hot out. Like, that's what my brain went
Right,
to.
your
I
brain
didn't
was
even
trying so hard to explain.
right. Yeah, so that happened, and then that's about the time when I started the podcast, and I was trying to think of people to interview, and I came across Kawani Lapsaritis, and he had, like, a landline number on his website, and I was like, "That
Oh.
can't work. Let's see. Let's call it. Let's see what happens." He answers, and we talked for, like, 2.5 hours in my backyard, and he was just telling me all these incredible stories, and as we're talking in the backyard, I start hearing, coyote howls, which I had never heard before,
Yeah.
never. And I had lived up
Wow.
here a few years, you know what I mean? I'd never heard that, but while we're talking, all of a sudden it's like, "Oh," and I told him, he's like, "You know who that is, right?" And I was like, "Do they do that?" And he's like, "Absolutely, they do. Yeah."
Yeah. Yeah, they
So
mimic, but it doesn't
everything
sound quite right. Yeah.
it sounds like a person doing it. It
Yes,
really it's
exactly.
so funny. It's so
Yeah.
funny. I've heard that with, so it's been like coyotes, and last week I heard them doing an owl call,
The
but it sounds
owls?
like a
They're
person doing it. It's
yes,
it's
exactly.
like yeah, it's so funny.
And
I
sometimes the
heard them
owls we've heard the owls screech, the owls hoot, like, turn into a scream that turned into a coyote. It was like it blended
oh,
and,
wow.
yeah, we've heard that. That was when I was doing a documentary with searching for Sasquatch.
Okay. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard them do, like, combination bird calls where it sounds like 2 different birds,
Yeah.
and they're like yeah, I've heard that, and that was gosh, that was what, maybe a month or 2 ago, and that was only 15 feet, I want to say, from where I was. And then this tree like starts shaking, this like little baby tree, and my
Oh,
dog starts growling. And I was like, it's okay. It's
dude,
just our friends. Don't worry. But
that's
they're getting
wildly
closer
exciting.
and closer. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I don't know
the
what it
less
is.
like you seem aggressive or scared, I think the closer they'll probably get. And you might get some sort of close connection, which would be mind blowing. It's something I wish I could have. I unfortunately live just outside town now, but
Oh,
yeah, I mean,
I live in a town.
yeah, really. Do you
Mhm.
have like
Yeah.
woods and stuff behind your house though?
No, I do. It's kind of on the edge of I live in a neighborhood. You have to walk probably 8, 10 blocks to get to like wooded area. But
Okay.
it's a really small, it's very small. It's a very small town. But they have, like I said, they've shown up in my backyard and eaten apples. I saw the juvenile male run in between my house and my neighbor's house one night. Like
Oh,
they're
wow.
yeah, they're pretty funny. Um,
I've
I do
never
have a real
seen one. I want to so
Oh,
bad.
really?
I've never like yeah, I've never seen one. I've seen what maybe be one, but it was more of a
Mhm.
silhouette, so I couldn't really use dark, so I can't really be sure. But yeah, I've never seen one. I want to so bad.
Oh, you will. You
Yeah.
will. Especially if you go to, like, the Gifford Pinchot Forest in Oregon, places like that
Oh,
that are
yeah.
just there's so many. There's so
Well, it was
many.
in Oregon where I saw the silhouette. It was up in the mountains
Oh,
of Oak
really?
Ridge. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so
So
cool.
I can't
Yeah.
be sure though, because it was a very paranormal-esque area too. So I don't know if it was maybe a ghost, but it definitely had the silhouette shape of a Bigfoot. But
Mm.
it was so soft-footed and so it glided. So I don't really know. It's like I don't know what
What
I saw. It was
you
ahead of
said
me.
glided?
Almost like yeah, it was so smooth the way it took steps, and it like it wasn't like it was more like
Yeah.
like it, but it took big
Huh.
steps.
Um, that's interesting that you said that because I had an experience recently in November where I went to, this national forest in Wisconsin for my birthday. We rented a cabin, and that was one of the places that Kiwani was like, "They want you to come here, you should go." And I was like, "Okay,
Oh,
maybe
neat.
someday." Yeah, and so I we decided to finally do it, and I get to this cabin, and we're watching TV, and there's like a glass patio door that normally I would have totally just closed the blinds, but I was like, oh, let's see what happens. And it was at night, and we were watching a movie, and all of a sudden I start getting like my body starts vibrating, my hands, my feet, my crown, my chest like starts buzzing, and I was like, oh, something's gonna happen. And then the dogs, they kind of all pop their heads up at the same time and are like, what's going on? And, I was like, "Oh, geez." So I could totally feel it. Something was gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I looked at the glass patio door, and it was like there was no furniture or anything. It was just like this, like, concrete floor, and then it looked out into the yard, which had, like, a little creek in it, and everything was pitch black, it was in the middle of the woods.
Right.
And, so I just happened to glance over, and I saw this shape glide past the patio door, and it was shaggy and reddish brown, but it looked like it, like, manifested, and then it kind
Oh,
of, like,
wow.
faded out. It was so weird.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing. I know who it was, but it was just, like,
Yeah.
I felt all the blood just leave my body, and I
I
just
know
got
that feeling.
white and cold, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, what just happened?" Yeah, it
Yeah.
was intense. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that
I know that
it
feeling that you're
glided,
talking about.
though. It was yeah.
Yeah, that's what this did, and you know what? When I was coming around the corner, it was so weird because I was running down the mountain. I separated from my group, and I was chasing this little baby deer, trying to scare it off the road so we could get down, and I'm running, and I come around this corner, and then it kind of there's like a cliff edge, and then it kind of bows off again to the other way, and on that cliff edge, I didn't notice it at first. And I'm just, like, running, and I'm watching the baby deer, and then I look up, and there's this shadow, like, in front of this cliff, and I'm like at first, I thought it was my shadow because there was a truck parked up the road behind me. It was the truck where everybody else was at, and so I thought at first it was my shadow, and then I was like, "Wait, that shadow doesn't look right," so I kinda cocked my head this way, and the shadow cocked its head the other way, and I'm like, and, like,
Oh,
I stopped my run. I'm like I went from a run to, like, a slow jog, and I'm like, I'm still coming towards this thing. So I'm like, my head is playing tricks on me. So I do it the other way and it does its head the other way. And I'm like, that's when my feet just stop. And I'm like, I need light. I need light. And I'm yelling up to the people in front of above me. I'm like, give me light.
Yeah.
And it kind of like turns and it's like step, step, step. And it was gone into the trees on the other side of the little dirt gravel road. And I was just like, what did I just see? And like, I'm trying to process it. And I'm like, it had to have been somebody's shadow, had to have been somebody's shadow. And so we actually had video going up above us. And so I'm like watching the whole time. I'm like watching these videos trying to figure out if it's a shadow. Well, it wasn't because with the way it turned, the trees, it blocked out all the truck lights. And then
Mm,
the shadows you did see were so far elongated, like the only part you saw or could have seen was like the tip of somebody's head. And it was a real big round, like the
okay.
proportion wasn't right because the distance. So I'm like, I definitely didn't see anybody that was above me in front of the truck. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I
That
can
is so cool. I love
yeah.
that.
Yeah, it was really, really cool, but, still this day, I can't say what it was because I didn't get a really good look at it, and I hate to say it was Bigfoot when I can't tell you even the color of its fur, you know what I mean?
Mm,
So,
yeah.
it's like one of those things where I saw something cool, but I don't know what it was.
Well, I'm sure just the more you do it, and honestly, do you go out in the woods and talk to them at all?
I do, I do. I tend to go out with a lot of other variety type investigators, so I
Mm,
often don't get to investigate in my style when I go out with other people, and it tends to feel more crowded, I think, than
mm,
anything, which I'm not saying I don't enjoy it. I love learning from other investigators. It's so much fun. But at the same time, like, I feel like it kind of diminishes the experience a little bit because there's a lot of other sort of, like, techniques going out there all at once, and everybody's got, their own way of doing things. So, often I go out on my own, out by where I live, but, a lot of the activity is just very distant. Like you'll hear stuff, you'll hear sounds, you'll hear knocks, but it's all very distant. So
mm.
I have not experienced an up close. I mean, other than up close visual, I guess I could say. I have experienced an up close experience, but it wasn't visual.
Oh,
um,
okay. What happened?
um, so we were out in Brea, Kentucky, out in the mountains, and we were up there just kind of doing just doing like a sort of teaching experience. Like this is the kind of stuff you look for. It was supposed to be a dead area. Like the activity had moved out of that area. And we stayed up a little too long. So we came down. We had these little dim flashlights. We were sliding down the rock walls. And I mean, we were coming down a pretty treacherous sort of area. And there was, ravines that you couldn't see until you're right up on them. So we had to take it slow. Well, slowly we started to hear sounds following us, and it was a very dark night. I can't even tell you exactly which day it was, but I know it was in October. And it's because you could hear the leaves crunching on the ground. And as we come down, we just start hearing more and more stuff on each side of us and above us. And we're like, we need to get down to like more level ground. So I had me, Mike, and Kenny with me. Um, and Kenny was not a researcher. Mike was a fellow researcher, and then it was me. And we get down to level ground. We're like, well, let's do a little bit of research. We're getting activity, we're getting sounds around us. So we start, you know, he likes to do wood knocks, and I mean those are fun. I don't mind doing those. He likes to like hoots and like Bigfoot howls, and I don't really like to do that just because I don't know what
They
I'm
know
saying
you're
to them.
there. They know they
Yeah,
can see you're like a big beacon of light. They can see you. Like,
right.
I don't yeah.
Yeah, and I mean I don't really like to do that because also like you don't know what you're really saying to them, and they're probably looking at you going, "Well, this person's stupid. They don't know what they're doing."
Why are they
So
banging on trees?
right, yeah. I mean, I like to bang on trees, but at the same time, I don't like to do the whoops. But he does this
Mm.
real long whoop, and he's like, nothing. And he's like, why don't you do a girly whoop? I'm like, what's a girly whoop? So I do it. I do this like little small howl, not as long, not as loud. We get a response. And I'm like, no way. Like, this is
That's
really
so cool.
happening. And then, we stay out there and we notice that it's getting close. They're getting closer and closer and closer. And at this point, they're only, a few yards from us. We can hear the footsteps. And Kenny, he's not a researcher. He just came out just for the experience, but he's like, turning white. He started to sweat. He looks clammy. And Mike starts
Oh,
getting really
wow.
worried about him. And he goes, we got to get him out of here. And we heard this low growl. And Kenny just kind of like, I mean, that's what every bit of color goes away from him. And Mike reaches up for my arm and he goes, we got to get out of here. So he grabs my elbow. And as soon as he grabs my elbow, this thing, huge thing above us, just charges. And I mean,
Whoa.
mind you, we got these little dim flashlights. The batteries are pretty much dead, so you can't see but maybe a yard in front of you. And I'm like, I get down in the defensive position because I'm between that thing and the guys. So like I get down to this defensive position and I'm just like in my head, everything goes slow mo. And I'm like, what am I going to see when it gets into the light of my flashlight? It's going to be
Mm.
face to face with me. And it charges, boom, 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 stops. And I'm just waiting, waiting, waiting. And I don't want to move because, I've worked with animals and I'm not saying Bigfoot's an animal, but in your mind, you don't want to move too quickly because then you don't want to irritate whatever's there. So I just like wait. And then finally, and I turn around and they're both kind of cowering. And I'm like, okay, it's time to go. So we back out slowly. Like I didn't turn my back to those woods until we were almost completely out of the woods. Like I backed down and just kept looking behind me to make sure I was staying on the path. But yeah, like it was huge. And then once we got out, um, and actually out, like, well, once we got down to level ground, we were like talking about it. We were all really excited. And then all of a sudden this huge boom. And we went back later to look. It actually had thrown a rock onto this big metal roof pavilion. And that's why it
Oh.
sounded like such a big explosion. And then it did
Mhm.
again. And Mike's like, I don't think we're far enough out. So we go down, and as soon as like the ground meets blacktop where the parking lot is, like you could just feel like you walk through this force field almost. Like you could tell that you were far enough out. And then all of a
Mm.
sudden the whole
Oh, that's
mountain.
why they were doing okay, that's why they were doing
Yeah.
that. You were
They
in
wanted us
there.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was their
Huh.
time. It was nighttime. It was their time. They wanted
Yeah.
us out. And, then all of a sudden, just all these whoops just all over the mountain. I mean, like, it was just climbing these whoops were climbing the mountain, and it just kept going, it kept going, it kept going until we pulled out, it was still going.
Wow.
And I really think at first it started with maybe juvenile curiosity, like, they were just curious, like, "What are these people doing here at dark? They're not supposed to be here after dark."
Mhm.
And then when Mike reached up and maybe did more of what they considered aggressive act of grabbing my arm and pulling my arm a
Yeah.
little bit, that's when it turned the tide, and that's when we
Mm.
weren't welcome anymore.
Oh, it's so weird. I mean, there could have been babies nearby too. Yeah. I
Yeah.
always
But it
I Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it just seems like at first it was just more curious than anything, and, like, the big one that was kinda up on the mountain a little bit further, I think he was just kinda watching everything, letting the juveniles kinda be a little curious. We weren't
Yeah.
being aggressive at all, we weren't showing any aggressive tendencies, and that, I think, was considered aggression when Mike made contact with my arm, and then that was when he was like, "Okay, you're out, we're not gonna have this sort
Could
of
have been.
behavior in front of the juveniles." That's what I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah, that could very well could have been. Wow. I always find it interesting, like, I was thinking about it the other day, and I honestly, I had this thought of, like, "Am I being too naive about this?" Because my all the experiences that I have had, and given I'm still a total newbie, this has only been happening for a few years. They've all been very loving and very positive experiences. I haven't had anything like that happen, and I don't know why that is. I don't know. Maybe it's because
Yeah,
I'm interacting with, like, the same group, but then I had an amazing trip. I went out to the Gifford Pinchot Forest in Oregon back in, I wanna back in October, and we stayed at one of those old guard stations that they have for rent on, it's like recreation.gov, but they're like
that's
these
so
old,
cool.
yeah, they're the old, like, guard fire stations that they have, and we went and stayed in one of those, and I had this experience where I was sleeping on the futon in, it was a tiny cabin, and it had, like, 2 bedrooms upstairs and then, like, a main room, and that was it, and I slept downstairs, and my friends were upstairs, uh, and I honestly didn't have any expectations at all, but, as I was falling asleep, I was woken up to, boom, 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 these big, heavy footsteps walking around the cabin, this tiny, tiny old cabin,
Wow.
and yeah, it was crazy that it was like boom, 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 got closer and closer, and I was sleeping right up against this window, and I could tell it was like 5 feet away, whoever it was looking, I could feel them looking in through the window, and I was
Oh, wow.
terrified. But it wasn't like it wa I was afraid because I didn't I have my group that, and they're the ones that kind of approached me, and I have a relationship with them. I didn't know who that was. I didn't know if they wanted us here or not, or if
Yeah.
we had somehow offended somebody, or I didn't know. So I felt this being looking in at me, and I was just my whole body was like, "Bleh," because the
Yeah.
frequency difference is so huge,
Yeah.
and you're scared on top of it. And I just kept
Right.
saying in my mind, I was like, "Can you guys back up? You're really freaking me out right now. Please back up." And I just felt all of it sounds so weird to say it, but I felt all the fear in my chest get sucked up out of the top of my head, and then it was all gone. And I was like, "Oh,
Wow.
wow, that's better. Thank you." And then I fell back asleep. Isn't that
Oh my
crazy?
gosh.
This is
That's
yeah,
wild.
yeah, I fell
That
back
is
asleep and
wild.
then yeah. But I didn't know and that's why I was afraid, and so I couldn't tell if it was like a friendly curiosity, that was going on or what it was. But, I have a
I
friend
mean,
who she's a medium, and I talked to her about it afterwards, and she was like, "Oh, no, they were excited to see you. They were
yeah.
happy. Like, they
Yeah.
were expecting you," and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's good." But
Yeah.
yeah,
More like curious. Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah.
feel like there is a much more aggressive display of action that they could have taken if you had really offended them.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Could've
don't think
thrown
that they would
rocks
have.
at the
Right.
cabin.
Yeah. And they wouldn't have helped kind of relieve that. I feel like they do have the ability to maybe relieve some of that fear. So
Mm.
maybe they didn't want you to be scared. They just wanted to kind of check you out.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I wonder what are some of the factors that make, a positive experience versus a really scary one where they chase you away? Like, I mean,
I think
we might never know. I don't know.
based on the people I've worked with, the experiences I've had around the people I've worked with, I think it really heavily depends on energy and expectation. So some people I go out with, they're very boisterous and very loud, and that
Mm,
can be irritating. And then other people I go out with, they're more like serene and calm and play music. And I think that grants a better experience. And I really do believe it depends on the energy and expectation when you do go out.
mm,
Um, I know people that call blast, they have very sort of aggressive rock throwing situations. Um, and then I know a gentleman, Ronald Roseman, who tells me this just absolutely amazing story about how he goes out and plays guitar for them and sings for them.
yep.
And he has these really positive experiences. So just based on the people I've talked to in my own research, I think that's what it is. It's like what you put out, you get in return.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
so, and I think that you come in with this very sort of lighthearted curiosity. So it's not seen as something that can be intimidating to them. So they come in a similar sort of curiosity state.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
that's just
maybe.
my
I hope
feelings.
I think you're right. I mean, who wants to have some, like, weird, noisy, aggro people coming into their living room and banging on trees and hooting and hollering? Like, I wouldn't want
Yeah,
that.
right. Exactly. Exactly. So
Yeah.
be cautious when you go out researching Bigfoot that sometimes you might get back what you put out. So
Fair. Yeah. Be
yes.
conscious.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, and be respectful, my gosh, be respectful. I mean, don't go out there, yelling and screaming and waving guns around and being crazy because, I think it's people like that that makes it hard for people like you or I to have good contact a lot of times. It
Yeah.
takes time, and, it takes time in the same areas, you gotta frequent them to kinda gain a better connection repertoire, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been going to the same woods almost every night for a couple of years now. And it started to try to get over my fear of the dark. That's how it started initially. And then I started seeing like orbs and just different lights in the woods. And then I'd hear like knocks and I'd hear
Mhm.
the coyotes. And then uh these orbs would manifest in this particular clump of trees that was probably about 40 feet away from me, and it almost felt like a communication, like,
Yeah.
they knew I was there, they started showing up, and I'm like, "Oh, thank you guys, that's awesome," and I would leave
Yeah.
apples and stuff, and, I'll get, like, a bunch of little crystals from the crystal store and, like, put them in the woods and, like, bring some peanut butter or whatever, and like you said, just respecting the spirit of the forest in general is
Yeah.
because you have no idea how many eyes are on you when you go into the woods. And if
Yeah.
you go and you ask them permission, you'll definitely have a better experience than if you
Yeah.
go and you're like, "Oh, my trail cams and my guns and my nets and my pheromones and
Yeah.
yeah." So like yeah, so I started seeing more orbs in this one particular little cluster of trees and then I don't know why it took me so long, but I finally, during the day, I went to go look in those trees. There's like a little structure in there. It's like they're building like,
Oh,
I
so
don't know. It
cool.
almost looked like a little nursery or something, like a crib, like this little mini.
Oh,
I'll
does it
send
look
you
like a
pictures.
bird's
It's
nest?
kind of,
Almost?
yeah, yeah,
Oh gosh. Okay, so that's kind of like a new Bigfoot phenomena that I don't think people have started reporting up until like a few years ago. And
huh,
it's like all the old sort of igloo style huts that you used to see that used to be related to Bigfoot. You don't see those anymore. And
hmm,
then it went to the structures, and now it's going into like almost ground nests. And it's like
hmm,
it's
yeah,
sort of like they're changing their tactics almost as we discover what they're doing. And I mean, I remember when I was a kid going out behind my grandma's house in the woods, we'd play in those huts. Like I didn't know what they were. And we would play in them, and they were always real soft and mossy inside. Like it had been gathered from the outside. And like everything was just super interwoven. It was like an igloo shape, and they were huge and they had an entrance. And I would tell my mom
wow,
about them, and she'd be like, "Oh, well, you know, they just grow like that. That's a type of thistle." And I'm like,
hmm.
"No, this is like dead stuff that's not in the ground." Like I'm trying to explain it
It's
to
like
her.
a fort.
Yeah, I mean, like I knew nothing about Bigfoot then. This was way before I even learned about Bigfoot. And but we'd play in them, me and my cousins
Mhm,
and my sisters, like,
so
you
cool.
know, yeah. So,
Well,
but
I
yeah,
think
but
you
they've
were kind
changed.
of yeah, I think you were kinda destined to hang out with Sasquatch.
Yeah,
They've been watching you for
yeah.
a long time.
Oh, I hope so, I hope so. I hope I have, like, a really good positive close encounter sometime, you know,
Oh, you
that's my
will.
dream experience.
You
Yeah.
totally will. Maybe I'll come out there, we can go camping.
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it,
Where
Gina, I
are
wanna
you,
do
by
it.
the way?
I'm in Ohio. I'm in Ohio. I'll kinda send yeah, I'll send you my area and see if we
Okay.
can't but there's, like, really cool stuff out, you know, within just an hour drive of me. Like, we got Serpent Mound and stuff, and I
Yes,
actually
I've always
know
wanted to go.
yeah, I know the gentleman who, well, I know a gentleman who knows, so I'm trying to get in contact that way, the people who run it, and so I'm trying to get in there overnight because that whole area, the frequency is just so intense. So if
Oh
I
my
can do that,
gosh.
yeah, you should
We're
come
gonna
on
do
for
it.
that. Yeah, yeah. I'll
You
reach back
know
out to him.
yeah, do it, please. I actually so I'm from Minnesota, and I was born in a town called Mound, which is
Oh,
funny.
cool.
It's
Cool.
known for
Ohio has tons of
all of
them.
the mounds. Yeah, I've
Oh,
always
that
been
is so
fascinated
neat.
by that, by the mound
Yeah.
builders, and man, so much stuff just got bulldozed.
Oh, that's so sad. I hate that. You know,
Yeah,
there was mounds out by my old house, and I had dreams about these mounds a lot.
really.
And yeah, like just all different. Most of them was UFO related, and like there was these
Mhm.
eggs in these mounds that they were going to come back and retrieve later, and um, they bulldozed them. They flattened it all out. So it's like, man, it's kind of sad because they felt like they had a history to me.
Yeah.
But
Oh, so yeah, so much. And I remember like the very first kind of multidimensional sort of stuff that started happening to me was when I was really young and I was living in that town. I would have friends come and visit me at night and kind of take me out of my bed. They would take me out of my bedroom and then I would kind of float around the house and they kind of taught me how
oh,
to fly. And yeah, I
that's
would go in and
wild.
see my parents sleeping, and then we go outside and fly around, and I think
Oh
we were
my gosh.
traveling in the astral, but yeah,
Yes,
it was
astral
there's
travel.
yeah, it was pretty
That is
cool.
so cool. I've never had anything like that. I've had dreams about
Oh, really?
flying, but yeah, I've never had any kind of sort of astral travel dreams. That would be really epic though. I would love that. One close to
Um,
mine is precognizant dreams that get on my nerves because the stuff that means something isn't really on the forefront in the dream. Then it happens, like, oh, that's what it meant. I never can figure it out before it happens.
oh, that's funny. Well,
Yeah.
I'm doing a project right now with some friends where we are together doing do you know what the gateway tapes are with the,
Uh,
Monroe Institute?
no, I'm very
It's well,
curious now. I'm writing it down.
it's called the Gateway Experience, and it's a series of, audio tapes that you it's basically teaching you how to astral travel, how,
Cool.
to kind of get out of your body and, like, do all sorts of amazing stuff. So I have a group that I'm working with right now, and it's kind of this group thing, and we're doing videos every couple of weeks to, like, kinda just record what happens. And
Yeah.
honestly, we've had a lot of really intense experiences.
That is so cool. That is so cool. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to look into it now. I had not
Oh, I'll
heard of
send
that.
you the episode. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, please do. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
for sure.
Yeah, I did a little research on astral travel way back in the day, but it's kind of like your ley line thing where, it kind of fell to the wayside with life and everything. So it'd be really cool to look into that a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Yeah.
should. Totally.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
actually, I've been using, dowsing rods a lot lately.
Really? I mean, what for? Like, because we use them in the
Um,
paranormal world, but I'm not really sure how valid that is, honestly.
hmm. Oh, I'm just basically using it sort of like a divination tool,
Okay.
asking questions and yes
Yeah.
versus no, and kinda sharpening
Yeah.
my intuitive skills.
I guess in a way I kind of trust myself because I know I'm trying to stay really still. But when other people take hold, like maybe I have trust issues and it starts going crazy, I'm like, like,
I
oh,
know. Yeah, I know, I like the pendulum better, but
yes, I
it's
love
fun
that.
it's fun to play around, so,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll try
yeah,
anything. I mean, I have fun just
me too.
experimenting with different techniques. So I'll try anything. I like the pendulum a lot better than the dowsing rods just because I know there's so much room for error with the dowsing rods. And I've had such a mixed variety of experiences with them where, like, you get the feeling of yes, but the dowsing rods are saying no. And you're like,
Mm,
something's not right here. So, yeah.
hmm. Well, yeah, I just feel like yeah, basically like what you said. There's you're like, "Oh, my wrists, what am I doing
Right.
something?" Like, what's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
just a
know.
lot of room for error because when you're paying attention to these, you're not really paying attention to what your hands are doing. So there's been times where I actually try to, and I've only ever had luck with it one time where I stabilize them. Like I used a doll when we had luck with it. I put in like in a doll's arms and I just kind of backed away and they did move a little bit. And that's when I was like,
Really?
yeah, that's some good stuff. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy. I should try that. Yeah, if you could use some sort of, like, stabilizing device and then ask
Yeah.
the questions and see what happens.
Right. Yeah.
That's a great
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. It
I
kind of
don't know
takes
if
the
I would
human
get a
error out of
doll.
it. Yeah.
Dolls are they're a little creepy sometimes, so
I have a porcelain doll collection, and there are a few that are haunted. So,
Ugh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah,
Ugh,
yeah, yeah,
wow.
and I don't know if they're haunted with the history of the previous owners or what, but there's some really interesting things that go on around them. So, I have a little haunted collection. So, some of them I keep in my home, others I just they're very energetic, so I keep them in a storage unit. So, I have a storage unit that
Oh,
I keep stuff
okay.
in.
How do you so how do you feel about living about just coexisting with all these spirits in your house?
I don't mind it, I feel like and I've always, taken it into my heart that, we have control over this domain, this dimension. And if I set rules, they have to be followed. Now, that's not to say that there's not gonna be a pushy one that tries to push against the rules, but you just be consistent. It's like I always consider it like a toddler, you gotta be consistent and you gotta maintain your rules. And then when they act up, you gotta know how to kind of come at them and straighten things out. So,
Hmm,
sometimes it
boundaries.
takes a little work, and other times, right, boundaries, and other times it's like, oh, everybody's coexisting. It gets a little hairy when you bring in a new haunted object. It's like this swirl of energy. Everybody's getting used to this new sort of energy in the home. And then it takes a little time, and within, at least a couple weeks, at most a month, everything starts to settle down. And then sometimes you don't get that sort of, conflict. So it's just interesting to
Wow.
me
Yeah.
to kind of have this lifestyle.
Yeah. I talked to Mel Scahan. Do you know who he is?
I do not.
He was in the Flash of Beauty documentary.
Oh,
He's a
okay. So
great guy.
I'm familiar with the ones who make those films, but I don't know Mel.
He used to work, I think, for the Forest Service in Oregon. He's a Sasquatch experiencer, but he lives in a house that is super haunted too. And he's like, yeah, he basically said the same thing you did. Like, you just have to like set ground rules and
Mhm.
you know keep up with it because, like you said, they're just sometimes they'll try to pull a fast one on you. And
Right. Yeah.
but yeah,
There's a couple, that's
so
why I don't keep them in the house, it kinda keeps the energy stirring, and it never
mm,
really settles down. And then there's one particular object I have that never calms down, it is always trying to push the boundaries. And I mean, it got to the point where even I was a little nervous at one point.
mm,
So, I mean, I was like, "Okay, we're gonna assault you, and, until I can get you somewhere else." And that's when I got the storage unit. I actually got it for him. So, and then it's just kind of built up over the years.
huh? Yeah,
Yeah.
I use tar water, I use salt, I
Yeah.
clear my house quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because I mean, who knows? I don't know. I feel like for me, I have a lot of, it's almost like like some sort of, see, I have all of these, this organite, these
Oh,
pyramids. I have a
yeah.
bunch of them, and they
Oh, that
are,
is so neat.
yeah, they almost act like, almost like little railway stations or something like that, where a lot of ET sort of energies can travel through them. And I'm not
Mhm.
exactly sure how this happens, but they just do. And sometimes I feel my house has a lot of that same sort of swirly energy, but it's
Yeah.
more, I think it's more like kind of ET related. So I
Yeah.
don't have a lot of like human spirit sort of uh experience, honestly. I don't really, I've never seen a ghost.
Yeah.
um, I've heard stuff in here. I've done like, recordings with the Sasquatch people, and I'm like, "Hey, if you guys want to grunt or something into the recorder," and then I'll hear something like uh people calling names, or I've
Oh.
heard that a couple of times in here. But like I said, you could have dinosaurs walking through your house in a different
Mhm.
dimension, and
Wouldn't even know
I
it.
don't know. Yeah, you wouldn't even know. And have a
That's so
pterodactyl
cool.
swooping around you. So
I love the way your brain
anyway,
works. I love it.
I know. It's very imaginative. So what do you, let me see, how long have we been going at it? An hour and
Hour and
25
20.
minutes.
It doesn't feel like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that you're a busy lady. I know you have another show coming up at 8, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to get to it. But
Yeah.
what do you say? We should do this again, definitely.
I agree. I agree. I could pick your brain forever. You're
We could do
very,
like a monthly thing together if you want.
oh, yeah, let's do it. Let's do a
That'd be
monthly
cool.
co-podcast thing.
Where we could invite other people and do, like, you and I
Oh,
could
yeah.
ask questions.
I like that. I really like that.
Okay.
We should definitely do that. Do
Awesome.
it monthly. We'll make it a plan.
Okay. Yeah, let's
All
do
right,
it.
perfect.
Um,
Yes.
well, let me see. I never know how to end these things, so I'll let you do an ending.
Okay, well, where can people find the Etherflow podcast? Where do you air it on?
Right now it's just on YouTube. I'm
Okay.
planning on branching out, but for
Yeah.
now it's on YouTube. So,
Okay. So it's Etherflow, AetherFlow. Etherflow.
yes.
Make sure to check them out on YouTube, and you can always find us on YouTube and Facebook at the Fold Mysteries. So check us out, and we got lots of stuff to offer, I'm sure.
Yay! I'm so happy, and it was so fun to talk to you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So I'll tell everybody bye, and if you want to hang around for just 2 more minutes after, we'll have a quick chat.
Absolutely. All right, bye guys.
Bye.